I'm excited to be headed to San Diego on November 4th and 5th this year for the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit. This event always brings together the best in talent acquisition, recruiting leaders, HR executives, HR tech, people that are really shaping where this industry is going. It's more than just a pitch fest. I mean, this is where actual learning comes in. They've been around for 30 years. It's a great event at San Diego in November. And you're going to have some excellent speakers, demonstrations. We have pin.com there. Joel Loudry will be there. You'll have the team from ERE there, Jim Stroud. These are people that have been shaping the industry this decade and really where it's going in terms of AI and the blend with AI and recruiters and all that good stuff. I went in April this year and it was a transformative experience. We had a great time with Digital Recruiter booth and speaking and just people learning about automation and content and AI tools. It was just really cool event. So I'll be an official content partner representing Digital Recruiter. So we're going to be capturing videos, doing man on the street, interviewing the speakers, the sponsors, really getting a pulse on the action. So if you're in talent acquisition, if you're agency recruiter, this is the place to be on November 4th and 5th. Go meet your peers in person, learn from them. There's virtual tickets, there's in-person events. It's an awesome time. And so please enjoy our ERE podcast series so it gets you a glimpse of all the people that are going to be at ERE, and we'd love to see you there. Welcome back to another installment in the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit podcast series. I'm your host, Clark Wilcox, founder of Digital Recruiter, and today I am joined by someone that is very well known in our industry, the Indeed Whisperer, Mr. Jim Durbin, with the hat, as always. How are you, sir?
Good. It's a pleasant day. Finally got down to the 40s and 50s in Texas. So it's hat weather, which is nice.
That's what I've been hearing. I put on the winter coat for the first time today up in Columbus, Ohio, which last week of October is not that bad. So I'll take it. But for those that don't know, why don't you maybe give like a brief kind of introduction on kind of who you are, what you do?
Sure. I'm a recruitment marketing consultant, TA leader. I've done everything: staffing, recruiting, RPO, executive headhunting. I've been internal. I run marketing firms. And it's just a matter, for me, it's always the same thing. I build a list and call a list. But I've done that for high volume. I've done it for individual processes. Of course, now in the days of AI, everybody's going, it all seems to be merging into one kind of big mass where we're all saying the exact same things. We have different methods of doing it. I tend to work with TA departments on how to do a better job with their vendors, making sure your reports are accurate, that your data is coming in, that the roadblocks don't exist. That's the majority of the work I do today.
I love that. And then I got to know, how did you get the name, the nickname, excuse me, the Indeed Whisperer? Where did that come from?
I've always enjoyed a good branding. I used to be the social media headhunter. I've had a couple names before that. Yeah. It tends to be a shortcut, and I like being clever. And I just did it one day. I was working with Marriott with People Scout. Dan Pinkowski gave me the shot to come in and like train some folks. I was training people on Indeed resume. I've trained some 10,000 people on some of these things on how to use the tools, very similar to what you do.
Yeah.
How to teach people how to actually use them and think through their messages, their searching, their plans and stuff like that. And he gave me access to the feed to run stuff for Indeed. So one of the beauties of going inside after being out for 12 years was I got to have money running through my hands and tens of thousands of hires. So the beauty of being a headhunter is you get to look someone in the eye and you're making a tangible difference in the life of the person that's taking the job and the manager and the company. And that's a great feeling. At volume, you get a tiny bit of credit, but if you get 60,000 pieces of credit, it makes sense. So I got really good at the algorithms for recruitment marketing for Indeed. And then I got promoted. When it's internal, we set up a 144 person organization, centralizing sourcing, that was interesting. And then I went and I just did it for PSG, where I was getting 500,000 candidates at an average of 28 cents, which was it's just ridiculous. In fact, it was too much. And because of that, Chad and Cheese brought me on, and we started calling me the Indeed Whisperer, affectionately known as. By the way, that's the way we go with that. It's affectionately known as. But because the real thing is, because I've touched everything, I'm not looking at things in isolation in a silo. I'm not just looking at campaigns or just looking at job postings. I'm thinking what happens at the ATS level. I'm thinking what happens at the finance level. I just sat on a call with 14 recruiters, and they all knew what to do. They just had to share it with each other.
Yeah.
So it's just something as simple as, hey, if you're going to call someone, text them right after so they know that you're not a scam. That seems like a small thing. Isn't everybody already doing that? The answer is no, because they're kind of doing their own things. We still have people going, I hope you're feeling well today. I found your resume on Indeed. And that's not a great outreach.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah.
So
It
if you're
feels like
doing that, please call Clark and get it fixed.
yeah, it's
Because I'll be a lot meaner to your people than Clark will.
yeah, it's well maybe. I play nice on TV. Is the asking for the Western Union number right after, right?
The
Yeah.
Social Security number in Western.
Yeah.
It's something to think about. I don't think people realize how bad the scams are and how hard it is to actually find a job.
Yeah.
Because people have been trained to think this is Amazon, this is Google. I just type it in and magic happens. This idea of frictionless hiring is doing a lot of damage, not to mention the pandemic itself. So we've got a lot of unequal expectations from both candidates, managers, startups, and it's really throwing people off. And so if you're not at the top of your game, you're losing so many people in that funnel, no matter how you do it, whether you're an individual or whether you're doing it with high volume. And don't think there's an endless supply of people left. There's not. We have shrinking demographics in every country in the world that is any type of first world economy. And so we've got to get better at what the job is, how we hire, how we interview, how we track it. We've got to get better is what it comes down to, or someone else is going to.
It's always kind of been the case. The one slight tangent also about the scam is I saw an email that was at it looked like Microsoft.com, but it was like RN, so it made it look like it was an M. I was like, dude, that's clever. That's clever. And if you read it quickly, it does look like it came from Microsoft. So they're getting crafty with it.
Yeah, I've got a buddy who's pretty good at it. They almost managed to hijack his system on a Teams call. So it's not just, hey, go buy an Apple thing here. Let me give you a check and you deposit it. I go buy stuff. And it's not your typical scams. It's not your CEO calling and saying, I really need to close this $1 billion deal. Run to the Apple store for me.
Yeah. That was a
People
great
do
one.
that. We make fun of that. But that's $50 billion a year that's coming out. So it's not as it's a lot bigger than all of recruitment marketing. More money flows through those stupid cards for scams than we spend on every job in the United States. Is that not insane?
That's wild.
We need something. We need to learn something from the scammers.
Well, we do. Yeah, messaging matters. So you're going to be talking on November 4th, Tuesday, November 4th, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST, with Mike Dickinson, who's Director of Recruiting at NHHS Management. It's going to be a case study on the effective recruitment marketing in skilled nursing. Why? I mean, talk to us a little bit about kind of how this came to be, this case study came to be, because I think it's going to be a great symbol of what you do in your process, right? And how everyone can kind of learn from it. Yeah.
So yeah, Mike is a director of TA for a series of nursing homes in Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee. These are not easy places to hire, and RNs aren't easy to hire in general.
Correct.
And so what was interesting about him is his process. So when he brought me on, most people bring me on because their budget's too high, they don't know what's going on, they're in a fire and don't know it.
Yeah.
Mike was doing pretty good. In fact, they've got really impressive numbers across the board. And we wanted to show not just his process, because his process will be different because he uses Chatter, but they turned off Indeed Apply and just ran it through this system, which is something I've been talking about for design principles for a couple of years now. They did it and they're having fantastic results. They turned Indeed Apply back on. We got some interesting results from that. And it really goes to show you that it's not a matter of one data point. Even though if you spend more with one aspect, if your people are happier, is that a better idea? So there's a lot of political process that comes through this. And in fact, that's what we're mainly seeing is that clients are in a position where they're struggling because they don't want to change their process. And they think AI fixes it as opposed to AI fixes one thing. But if you change your process, you fix 15 or 20 things. So it's going to be a good description of how Mike looks at each of the tools that he has. It's a discussion of it, how he treats his managers, what he gets from his CEO, because he gets a lot of leeway from his CEO as long as the job is done. That's not true everywhere. Yeah. You don't get to say that because it's got a tighter command and control because of the way they're set up. He gets a lot of leeway other people don't. And you have to understand that before you build a process. So when his boss asks for something, he does it. He has to understand how it's going to impact every single location because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The question is, what can you do? Do you need to be running Indeed Apply? Can you be running some type of interrupt? And it's all based on this idea that we're asking people to apply, but we're not quickly getting them into the process. Like I saw one today. I don't know if I could yell at people or cry for them, but someone applied and the first thing they do is ask them to fill out a skills questionnaire. I'm like, what are you doing? Do you want them not to respond to you? Because they've already
Friction.
applied.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, don't let them apply. That's the scary thing. And you know this from headhunting. So basically, I want to turn high volume and corporate hiring into a version of the white glove executive search service. You get someone good. If you've done your work, you can't afford to lose them. We need to adopt that mindset, even for high volume jobs, call center, cashiers. And we have the tech to do it now. If we have the tech to provide a better experience, we just have to choose that we want to do it.
I see it all the time. To your point, and fixing the recruitment operations, kind of with what I do heavy on LinkedIn is people will build a list of 100 and try to connect and almost like hire all 100 of those people. I'm like, you have one opening.
Yeah.
So you need the one person that's like, I want that job, and that the client's gonna be like, I want that person. So how does your messaging, everything, automation is not just spam the job description to a bunch of people. It's like, this is an opportunity. I thought of you, and this is what it could offer someone in this role. It's like, this is that, right? The what's in it for them approach to like that mindset. If you figure that out, and it just takes more work on the front end, to your point, but then it makes it so much easier to automate, and you're getting the results. To your point, that white glove, it feels like it's for them because everyone's open to a new job if it's going to be better than what they're doing right now, right? And I think that's like the mindset I try to get to, to recruiters to have. It's like, that's who you're talking to. You don't know which of the 100 that's going to be, right? But that's where you save the time, right? You either reach out 100 individually, and that takes forever, right? Or you automate it with some intention, right? And some front end work, and then you get the right one person. And typically what happens when you do that is you get about 50 of the potential right people, right? But then you have at least enough, you have a ton of people to sort through, and then you can move on to the next campaign, and to the next campaign after that. It's just kind of like that order of operations.
Yeah, we don't tend to think of it as stages. Part of it's calling it a funnel in the first place.
That's true.
When you think of a funnel is it's wide open at the top, and you dump a bunch of stuff in. And we got that from sales, but then it gets smaller and smaller, and that means more and more pressure. At the very bottom, there's only room for one person.
Yep.
When you think like that, what happens is you think, I don't have to think about anybody when it's the top of the funnel, and at the bottom, you have so much pressure on you. Do you know the difference, Clark? You know the difference between placing a $15 an hour cabler and a $2 million a year CFO for a startup?
I want you to tell me.
Your personal stress level. That's it. That's it. It really is. I mean, there's a few words you use. There's a bit changes in compensation. But what that person goes through, it doesn't matter if they're the cabler or the 2 million. That's just a matter of negotiation for the details. The actual chemical decisions, how they look at things, what they expect from interview is all very similar. There's ego in a $15 an hour guy just as much as in a $2 million guy. Yeah. And sometimes the ego is more justified. So you once you grasp that, you're like, okay, well, what can we be doing to help people? And I think that's what this session will be very good at, is it talks about how Mike looks at his particular situation and built that process out, and how he evaluates things. Because that's ultimately, so ERE is all about its TA leaders being there, talking to each other. It's very, very, David's done a very good job over the years. David and Josh and Danielle and all those guys, great job over the years of getting those folks in there. They want to know how. It's not, oh, look, I went up 30%. I think that's one of the dangers. If you look at SourceCon, which was for years, we'd get up on stage. And I remember the first time I went to SourceCon was way back in like 2012. And I just wanted to see how good I was in comparison to the best in the world. What I realized is at a certain point, it's like the top 20%, it's not that we're all better. It's just that we have different experiences. We're looking at it different. But a really good sourcer can be really, really good. Once you're good enough to hang with everybody.
Yep.
And what I found fascinating about that was that we would stand on stage with some of the brightest minds in sourcing, and they would give you a completed solution. But that's not how any of it works. That would be like you just saying, hey, pay me, here's the template, your template works. That may actually work for the first couple of people, but then when the template runs out, they can't. You've got to teach them the method. And so sourcing and training should be about, I did this and then I ran into a roadblock. And this is how I worked around it. Because otherwise, those people go back home, they practice the sourcing work, they practice your templates. If it doesn't work immediately, they give up and go back to what they were doing.
And they blame you.
Yeah, why didn't this work? Well, because you weren't paying attention.
Right. It's like I use the messaging
for an hour instead of an hour every week for 6 months.
The best one is, I used your messaging. I'm like, okay, show it to me. And it couldn't be any further from the messaging that I presented. There might be 4 similar words, but they've changed the rest of it. So to your point, I think it's a thought process, the approach. And for those that in person at your presentation with Mike or virtually, that's such an important point of just like audit how you're thinking about things, right? Learn how to fish, not just, hey, can I get some fish, right? And that really kind of what it comes back to, and like how can I apply the thought process and the way you diagnose and attack the problem and make time to attack the problem. I think that is what can be an industry standard, or any recruitment or TA leader can take away. It's like, oh, I can fix how I'm doing that today. And then my results are going to be unique to me, but there is a balance of an approach that works across the board. And then the results from that approach, or the byproduct, is going to be different for everyone, right? But if you have that approach, that kind of diagnostic, it's kind of systemized, is unified a little bit, right? From what we're seeing.
It becomes a matter of framing.
Yes.
So I talk about this a couple of times when people talk about their source of hire. That's one of the things I always want to know about. And I kind of laugh at it because when you talk about source of hire, you're talking about some bad data. It's from the very beginning. But the way you talk about it matters. So I've seen a VP stand on stage and say, referrals are our best source. You agree with that, right? They're easier, they're cheaper, they're well-liked, they move through. They even smell better than regular candidates. But obviously, we treat them a little different. So when the VP stands on stage and says, referrals are our number one source of hire, so we're going to put our time and effort into doing that because they're so much better. The problem is you just told your CFO that the hazy memories of your line managers are better than the entire TA budget and all of your recruiters. You've just said, we suck at our jobs. Go ahead and fire all of us. That is literally what you just said. How about you say it just slightly different? Slightly different. Referrals are great. They're the low-hanging fruit. We want to maximize those because they're so easy. But the hard work comes when we find the people that don't already know about us. Yeah. It's the exact same data points. But one of those is speaking the language of finance, saying our job is hard and we know what we're doing. And the other is just casually throwing out some number, but nobody cares about. It's like when LinkedIn or Indeed says that they got 30% better with their AI messaging. Do you think that's 30% better than you? No.
What is it?
It's interesting that they used percentages and didn't tell you exactly how many. That was 600 million messages. Does that mean they got 180 million? No, they picked the average or the worst person who's writing, I hope you're well, I found your name on Indeed, and find out they can slightly beat that at 30%. But I'm sure you're doing far better than that. I know that I double people's response rates.
Oh, absolutely.
So what is this 30% with AI? So I'm that much better than, I guess I'm 6 times, 7 times better than AI.
It's crazy.
It has to do with the language. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. It's even seeing it, the connection rates. I mean, we'll get almost 90% of people that connect on a sourcing campaign on LinkedIn will reply. Like if you have it right, if you can do that scale. I mean, if it's 50%, that's amazing. And we're not even using InMails most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like your point about being the Indeed whisperer. Maybe I should be the InMail whisperer, or the InMail. Get away from the InMails. Right. What tripled in price or 7x or whatever happened.
Yeah, something crazy.
People aren't even leveraging connection requests. Right. If you do that with the pro, I mean, it's to your point.
Well, dude, how many of those people are already in the database? How many of these people do search on LinkedIn and shoot an InMail out, and they're in your database, and you've talked to them, but you don't want to look it up?
It's baffling to me. It's. I mean, that was always, and I love LinkedIn, but at Aerotech, when I was trained, it was always search my own network, search the database first. Like it's a no brainer, right? LinkedIn is just a top of funnel, right? But it's not. We're not spending InMails on that. It's top of funnel for connection requests and marketing. But if I have a search on my desk, absolutely, you're searching your own database and your notes. Who have I already submitted? Who's already interviewed and made us look good? But maybe there just wasn't a couple openings or whatever else, or wasn't the right fit. Like that should always be where you're looking first.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what's why don't we gonna wrap up in a couple minutes? You've been to a few of these conferences in general. What is kind of your takeaways, your value? If someone's going to this conference for the first time, like how do they get the most out of it from your perspective?
The thing I hate is when everybody says the value in the conference is in the halls. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, then why are we going to the conference? Why am I speaking if
yeah.
the value's in the halls,
I
right?
knew you'd have a hot take. Give it to me. Yeah,
ERE isn't like that. ER really is full of practitioners, but I would say come armed with questions.
yeah,
Start asking people like basics, not little stuff. Look, if you can go to somebody and say, I can triple your results, I can do 300% of your results, which occasionally happens, that's a bad sign. All those people should be fired. If you can improve their results 300%, we may be good, but we're not that good. It means they weren't doing the basics. So when you're talking, just having that case study is not enough. Come with questions. What's your CEO like? How many times do you meet with your advanced people? Is your budget fungible? That's a big one. If I save money in a deed thing, can I turn around and put it into a sourcing tool?
yeah.
If I take the time of my recruiters and start sending directly from the database, does that mean I lose this portion of the budget or can I utilize it for something else? So it really is come armed with questions because you're dealing with people who are all peers. There's not a lot of vendors that are allowed there. I mean, it's not something. It's not like an HR tech or something where it's all vendor drawn.
Yeah.
So talk to people in the halls, ask them what they do, because there's a lot of lurkers that go there as well. A lot of people with a lot of experience that are good at what they're doing. They're not trying to get seen; they're just trying to do their jobs.
And
So there's a
learn.
massive amount of intelligence there for you, and friendships and networks and other things there. So
No,
ask questions about how they got to where they were. That would be the best advice.
I love that answer. Haven't heard that answer yet, so I appreciate it. You sharing. You're always making me think, especially as like a consultant and trainer. I'm like, it always making me think, am I asking enough of the right questions in the front end? And I'm always pick up one or two whenever we have spoken. So I appreciate you for that. So thank you.
Of course.
Because that is kind of, figuring out those initial roadblocks. So Jim, appreciate it. Indeed, Whisperer, thanks for being here. Excited to see you and meet you in person next week.
Yeah, yeah.
And looking forward to the talk. Yeah.
I've got a trick for you about how to tell if someone's going to close a deal.
Yeah.
I'll share it too if you agree not to publish it.
I'll
It's
take
a
you up
good
on
one.
that.
I mean, you can teach it, just don't
Yeah.
publish it.
I'll give it the free one that's recorded. It's when they tell me I'm a good salesperson.
This one's going to blow your socks off.
Yeah.
It's basically a question of, let's say you're placing somebody. If you're the sales manager and I'm the account manager, and you want to know, am I going to place David next week? How do I get the client to answer? Because you're going to come to me and go, just call him. I'm like, I'm not calling him. He knows why I'm calling. He'll call me. I mean, it's obviously a problem. How do you trick your client into giving you the answer they already know they have?
All
And
right.
it's
Well,
with
I'm
the
excited
text
for
and
the
email.
answer.
You're going to love it.
And if you
You're
listen
going
to
to love
this
it.
and it's after ERE, I mean, I might let you in on what Jim told me. So
Yeah, maybe. If you pay
maybe,
him. You got to pay
maybe.
him, though.
Yeah, I'll send you a Venmo link.
This is a
Uh,
paid one.
yeah.
These don't go free.
I love it. Jim, appreciate you. Great talking as always. We'll see you at ERE. Make sure to sign up, follow Jim on LinkedIn if you haven't yet, and check out the talk next week, either virtually or in person. Again, it's going to be Tuesday, November 4th
Just
at 4
look for a
p.m.
man in a hat.
And just look for the man in the hat. Until next time, y'all, happy hunting.